10 minutes to 9. By 20 past, you must be done.
I shall. And I was saying to Advocate Johnson, I think all questions have been asked. Yeah, but we must work. Advocate Johnson, will you be applying or at least raising your hand for consideration when the position of NDPP comes up?
Honorable Chair and members, I am aware that the position is now open. I'm aware that there's a closing date of tomorrow. I myself will not be applying. If I am nominated, I would have to consider the nomination, but I myself have not applied.
So it's both a nomination and application process?
In this round, yes, you can apply, or persons can nominate you. I have no intention of applying myself. I didn't do that in the previous round, nor do I intend to do that. It is better if you are nominated. It also depends who nominates you, but I am not applying as Andrea Johnson.
Okay, but you'll consider it in the event you are nominated?
I will consider it, yes.
Okay. All right. Advocate Johnson, my sincere apologies. You know, I think we would have also just wanted to have a broader discussion with you about IDEC, but there are contemporary issues which I think we need to clear up. I'll try and go through just some lingering questions I have on those before going to some of the more broader issues. After this whole discussion about the handing over of dockets, knowing what you know now, don't you think that Lieutenant General Sentemule should have informed you that SAPS was investigating this matter? Don't you find it strange that, you know, on the 4th of November, the inspectorate gets these dockets, starts working on it. On the 20th, I think, of November, they ask legal service to look at it. Even before they get their report, General Sentimule is all over there saying dockets must move. Isn't that strange?
I agree, Honorable Sangoni. Even if it wasn't her, the inspectorate should have told me. The long story short is, someone in SAPS should have alerted the Office of the ID that they were already looking, the reasons they were looking, and my requesting the docket interrupts a process, and they would appreciate that I stand back, which we would then have gladly done.
Okay, I'm not expecting you to answer for General Sentimule, but when she then picked up the phone and said to the inspectorate, give over those dockets to IDEC, she obviously knows that the inspectorate is busy with them and she is interfering and interrupting that process, right?
What I can indicate is by calling the inspectorate, she then knew that the dockets were there. I cannot talk for what she knew they were doing with the dockets. I can just say she knew they were there.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure General Sentimule will help us with that. So, Advocate Johnson, during the course of these proceedings, we've been putting forward an assertion to witnesses that we think the reason we are sitting here night on end is because of deep divisions within the top brass of the SAPS leadership. I want to say that right now, I think that these divisions cut across the criminal justice system, and I just want to hear your view on this theory that I have. So we've been asking about Mr. Brian Phadayajee, because Mr. Phadayajee, it seems, he was used to effect this very speedy investigation and what I think was a frivolous arrest of Lieutenant General Khumalo. Tell me, so you testified that by the time you took the helm, were you at ID before you became the head of the ID when Advocate Cronje was the leader?
No.
Okay, but you are obviously a successor in law in terms of head of IDEC, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he's retired at SAPS, and in your document you go through a lot of detail around his skills and expertise. Are those unique?
So those are the skills and expertise one requires of investigators. So be they DPCI or IDEC. We need investigative experience, and you need knowledge and understanding of the law enforcement environment. So that is what he had when he did come to IDEC back at the time. And they did serve us well in terms of investigations. And if you'd allow me, Honorable Sangoni, just for clarity, he didn't conduct the investigations in any of these matters by himself. There's a team of investigators and prosecutors, and everybody does different things. Different people take statements, some issue Section 28 subpoenas, etc. In terms of the conducting of the investigation, there is a team that conducts an investigation and more than one prosecutor that assesses the matter. However, when we effect arrests, and this is a general law enforcement thing, you will find that when an arrest is to be effected, search and seizure warrants are to be applied for, cyber warrants, bail affidavits. They choose within the team who must depose to that affidavit. And for those reasons, he is at the fore, but he is part of a team. I only just wanted to clarify. I'm not trying to justify anything.
No, I think I understand you, but I'm sure you'll appreciate also, Advocate Johnson, that our line of questioning is based on the allegations that have been put before us, which intimate that he was intimately involved. He was also involved in the arrest, wasn't he?
He was not at the arrest.
He was not at the arrest. Okay, only the investigation. So I was asking you, these skills that he possesses, are they only possessed by a person who has retired? Because I would think that if they were the requirements of the job, we're not creating job for retirees, am I right?
Honorable Sangoni, when I took office at IDEC, the issue was we had duty reassigned or seconded individuals. Many of them were already at an advanced age. When we started recruiting as well, the experienced investigators in criminal matters are of an advanced age. And that is the same answer you would get even if you talk to the DPCI and you talk to the detectives. And of an advanced age doesn't of necessity mean that they reach their retirement age. Many of these experienced law enforcement officers also left for different reasons before the time. But many of them are the more senior people, without casting aspersions on anybody's age. But the experience came from there.
But he had retired and was brought back or headhunted.
In terms of what I have from his statement and what we have from my finding him there, it is correct. He had come out of retirement.
Okay, so I suppose then the assertion that I'm putting to you, Advocate Johnson, is that you have this person who is employed in one entity in the criminal justice system, purportedly is retired, thereafter he's brought back, he comes into this other criminal justice system ecosystem, proceeds to investigate as part of a team, charge, arrest his former colleagues who include the senior officials and people that he reported to. At no point did anybody think that this was conflict of some sort, there was something strange here, no?
I can do no more than indicate the team scenario, and each one of them delegate the duties. He did not arrest Lieutenant General Khumalo, but he was involved in the processing of the co-accused who had handed themselves over to the South African Police Services. So he was part of a team. When you think about it, the optics don't look good, but there was nothing untoward.
Okay, Advocate Johnson, there's lots of optics that look funny here. So General Khumalo, General Mkhwanazi asserts is being targeted, right? So in December, they raid Mr. Matlala's house. There's then a fabricated case that they stole Rolex watches. Also in December, it is alleged that Mr. Brown Mokhotsi sends an SMS to the minister that says, yeah, now we've got something, we can finally charge Khumalo. Then in June, you arrest him. Sorry. So IDEC arrests him. Does this not look like a coordinated campaign against General Khumalo?
It doesn't, simply because you have to look at who is dealing with what. We were not dealing with, nor were we involved in whatever happened in December, be it for Matlala or for Mokhotsi, bearing in mind, Honorable Sangoni, that at the time we didn't even have the referral for the Matlala tender corruption matter. Ours dealt only with what came from Adams. If there was a concerted effort, then the timing of everything would have happened differently, logically, would have happened differently, and then we wouldn't have gone on what everyone goes on about is, what were you doing with what they allege is an HR or labor issue? We would have taken all those other allegations that are purported to have been made and hit him with a full book of allegations. That's not what we did. That wasn't our case. Our case was different, and we were not working hand in glove with anybody outside of IDEC.
Okay. But you can see coincidence, right?
Stinks of coincidence.
Okay, okay. Just help me. Why, having now heard all of these allegations, are you not investigating them? Because when you spoke about your mandate, you said you are only limited by the extent of the mandate. You don't only investigate 90% of a thing, you go all the way. Now, why are you not investigating organized crime and drug cartels? Because your mandate says that you can deal with issues. In fact, I want to read it if I can find it. It's 9.2 somewhere. But in your mandate, you say that issues that relate to the Contravention of Prevention of Organized Crime Act, they fall within your mandate. So why are you not broadening the scope since your mandate allows you?
That part of the mandate, Honorable Sangoni, relates to matters of racketeering and matters of money laundering. That is where IDEC gets its mandate. Because in the corruption matters or the financial crimes matters, there would be money laundering, as has been evident through the State Capture Commission, etc. Those, for us to prefer those charges and conduct those investigations, they fall within very specific provisions of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act. That is the purpose of having all of those parts of the legislation referred to. We did not want to run the risk that you do not mention a statute that we are allowed to deal with. That is what we do, and that's where we have restricted ourselves. But if there's organized corruption and it is reported, and if that corruption relates to organized crime, we can investigate it, but we don't investigate organized crime. I hope that clarifies.
Okay, now I hear you. So in your statement, and I'm going to thread carefully here because the chair did say he doesn't want us to discuss allegations, but I want to discuss the justification that you have given us. And I think some of the members have already touched on this. But you quote Justice Zondo that state capture is a project where a group of actors, their network of collaborators, systemically conspire to redirect state resources for their own private gain. Then in paragraph 3.1, paragraph 38, you then list the elements of what make up state capture. In 1, you indicate that state capture can manifest where there is a conspiracy to redirect resources to correct purposes. So now, how was this accused number 7, Mrs. Mokwele, going to do this? How was she going to redirect resources for corrupt processes?
Just for clarity, Honorable Sangoni, I took that entire definition and all of the elements. Not every one of those elements are applicable to all of the accused.
You will indicate. So if
terms of
she was not going to, I'll go through them. So she doesn't fall within the conspiracy to redirect resources for corrupt purposes.
The allegation that we make is she was put in a strategic position so that when she was requested to, she would redirect resources or funding for the resources because of the nature of TSS, their funding and what it is they can procure.
Okay, I want to be clear, and again, very careful. Are you speculating that she will be in a position to do that, or you would then have, I don't need to know the evidence, you then have evidence that that is what they were plotting to do?
We have evidence that that is what they were plotting to do, and I did say it is unfortunate that I'm unable to discuss the other matters, not just these 2 matters. But when you look at the full ambit or basket of matters, Honorable Member, then they do give you a different picture.
Okay. Then on 3, on the next one, which is the strategic appointments and dismissal, right? So Judge Zondo says this entails the filling of posts with loyalists who would then facilitate capture. So is it your evidence, and I don't want to know your evidence, that Ms. Mokwele was going to facilitate capture of crime intelligence? The co-accused. Okay. And then the manipulation of procurement is what you were talking about? Okay. I think Honorable Mnangwa has already asked you about the systems and processes and private interests and so forth. So if these are all the issues, then, Advocate, why would you then go and charge him on employment-related issues when you have evidence that there is a conspiracy to capture crime intelligence? Why don't you go for the jugular instead of confusing all of us with employment matters?
In terms of this particular appointment, it is its own standalone matter. When we have the other four matters, we have to look at whether...
Mike, please, sorry, ma'am.
When you look at this matter, I must be tired if I keep forgetting the mic. I do apologize, Honorable Chair. This was a matter that stood alone. I did indicate that we had to first look at which matters can be prosecuted on their own. When we look at the balance of the matters, we have to look at whether or not some, if not all of these accused and other persons did not act as a criminal enterprise to conspire and further the ends to which we allude. And that is part of the prosecution and investigation strategy.
Okay.
Not every matter would fall there, but the remaining matters are exactly what we have to consider.
Okay. So you've also said somewhere that there are persons who have been appointed that allowed the head of criminal intelligence to access funds without proper processes. So who are these people? How come they are not charged? Like, what happened to that? I mean, it's a big statement for Madam IDEC to make, and people are roaming around free.
So we also have, that would be the seventh matter, which is a Langlaagte matter, which refers to procurement, which is also under investigation. It hasn't fallen under the radar, Honorable Member.
Okay. I was going to ask you, but I think I'll ask it anyway for the sake of completeness. Is this matter of Lieutenant General Khumalo the only matter that you have dealt with which relates to manipulation of employment? Is there precedence for this? Because, yeah, is there precedence for this? Has this ever been done?
In IDEC, this was the first one that we had done. I can't answer for if it was done in the rest of the NPA. It's something I would have to find out, or else I would be misrepresenting facts, which I cannot.
Okay. On paragraph 29 of your testimony, you indicated that, so you speak glowingly about crime intelligence, then that you indicate that the key challenge in relation to crime intelligence is the use of funds and the lack of accountability thereof. Drawing from your experience, and I think I want to step off these contemporary issues now, but drawing from your experience, what recommendations would you have to tighten the Secret Service account, the slush fund? I mean, we asked the minister, he said, yeah, I don't know. What recommendations would you have? You've been through the Celebi matter, the Lazarus matter, what you call the Lazarus Mdluli era. What needs to be done there?
Honorable Sangoni, I did indicate earlier that what one should do is allow greater latitude to the Inspector General for them to be able to openly look at the books and to be able to account cent for cent and legitimacy, whether it is of procurement of goods and or services. But the same should be allowed of the Auditor General. And I am saying we do have bodies that can do it. We have to find a mechanism, given the covert secret nature of this account, to allow them to do that. It might then mean that the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence is going to have to sit down, have a debate, and perhaps seriously consider an amendment to the legislation. There is a protection, and they then have to ask the question, what is this protection doing for the fight against crime and for accountability and transparency? I think that might work.
Okay, I'm almost done. One of our terms of references speaks to us investigating prosecutorial conduct between IDEC and the KPTT, Political Killings Task Team. I just want to make sure that I heard you right. IDEC has no relationship with the PKTT whatsoever. We can scratch that off our terms of reference.
Absolutely. I can say that with both my hands raised to God. There's nothing we have to do with PKTT.
Okay. And then what is the conviction rate of IDEC or ID, then IDEC?
Sorry, we had in this year, we've had 3 so far. The unfortunate thing about these matters is they take such a long time. They even frustrate us that they take so long. But it's usually lots of accused, lots of lawyers. And I know what the South African public wants, and they're absolutely entitled, Honorable Sangoni, to want speedy justice. But unfortunately, these are voluminous matters, and they just simply take forever. What we have done is we have engaged with the National Director, and I am aware that there are engagements that, if they haven't already happened, will happen with the Honorable Chief Justice to ask for a fast, I'll just use the terminology we used, for a fast lane court. We're not asking to create special courts, but to say when we have a state capture matter that must go on trial, the JP of that division must know this is state capture. They must get a judge who will then sit in a dedicated court to run with the matter start to finish. The chances of you finishing some of these matters within 6 months to a year, as opposed to the 5 to 10 years that it's taking us because we are given space on existing court roles, specialized commercial crime, as well as the regional court, and we also, Honorable Sangoni, have to fall into the high court role. It is not ideal, and it is impractical, but I am aware that there are considerations for what they call a fast-track court, experienced, dedicated judges to run start to finish.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you what needs to be done to fast track it, but then even if you've got a fast track court, you get in there and the public believes, well, I believe, that you get there and then your things are thrown out. Like, what are you going to do about that? Because that also seems to be a problem.
Well, for us, first prize is finding a court that will only deal with IDEC state capture matter that is brought before it. But at the stage it gets to that court, it must be trial ready. So all of the other processes and whatever motion applications are brought must be dealt with by court of first instance, so that when we go to the Chief Justice or to the JP, we are saying all the parties, including the defense, we are ready. We want the judge to start our trial, and that is what we have to aim to do.
Advocate Johnson, I know maybe I'm unfairly targeting you because it's the NPA generally, but can you understand how frustrated people are that you would bring cases, and I'm sure it's both sides, you know, both the accused and members of the public, you bring cases, nothing sticks, you have to go back, and it looks like the NPA/IDEC is just fumbling cases and people are losing confidence in the system?
Honorable Sangoni, I take what you say. In terms of the IDEC matters, I know that we did have an unfortunate incident in terms of the New Lane matter, and without discussing the trial judge, I think the Supreme Court of Appeal judgment speaks volumes on what went wrong. It has cost us a lot of time. It's cost us over 2 years to get that judgment. Now the same accused, when we were ready to enroll the matter, have taken us to the Constitutional Court. Accused persons have rights, and so they do exhaust them as they do. But are you asking if the NPA can do better? Of course, that is what we were supposed to do. We must aim to do better.
Are you working on doing better? What is being done to improve the output? Well, yeah, I'll call it output of the NPA.
So if you look at the IDEC matters, I've indicated what we seek to do, and we seek that when we enroll a matter, that at the date of enrollment, all the investigations are done and we are ready to make disclosure of the docket, which then becomes very important and determines then the speed at which that matter becomes enrolled. And that has become a general principle with the commercial and corruption matters that are also dealt with by my colleagues in the DPP offices and specialized commercial crime.
Okay, I'm gonna step off this, but I do have to just throw in this one thing. Do you think that, I mean, you spoke about the implications, right, of things that, let's say, General Mkhwanazi does. Do you think that the NPA should take any accountability when they do bring matters to court, the matters are not ready, and people lose their livelihoods because the NPA bungled things, took them to court, they were not ready, people lose their jobs and all sorts of things? Or is the way that it is now okay? It's like, oh no, we'll do better.
No, it cannot be business as usual. And what you say is exactly how it should be. And that is why I was at pains to say, you know, when you just even mention who might be a suspect, the irreparable harm you do, no one cares that you didn't end up charging Mr. or Mrs. X. They remember what you said. And that is the same for matters going to court, matters then being withdrawn, and those matters then falling by the wayside.
Okay. I think it's even worse when you're charged, you know, and not just mentioned, but I get your point. Honorable Johnson, has in your experience, both as, okay, I won't go to the Scorpions, but as a prosecutor, let's say in the last couple of years, has there been political interference in your work? Let's say especially the ID and IDEC, and could you give us the details of that political interference?
So we won't talk about the DSO because I think that is history written. But since then, I myself, in my work environment, have not had political interference. Of course, we had members of the NPA where there's allegations that they had been captured, and many of us, myself included, were victimized, where we were not allowed to deal with our matters at all. And we were moved office to office. I mean, I was physically moved in one building 4 times at the women fancy of one of the national directors. At a stage, I ended up working out of my boxes because that was the best thing for me to do. In my time in IDEC, not then Minister Ronald Lamola, not Minister Simelane, and not the current minister, Mayor Mamoloko Kubai, have sought to interfere in the work. They have not asked me, as IDEC, to provide them with details of the merits of matters. They have not asked that they be informed when persons will be arrested, because that is where you would look at for interference. However, all ministers are entitled to ask for a high-level report in terms of Section 33 of the NPA Act. I think there was only one instance where a report was provided to the Honorable Minister Lamola at the time. There was nothing untoward about it. It was more clarity, but none of the ministers since then either have asked, which they can legitimately ask for.
So the lack of prosecution is not because you have politicians, ministers interfering in your work and saying, do not prosecute this one, frustrating you, things of that nature?
Our challenges are different. They are not political interference.
Thank you very much. I think my second last question, if not the last question, okay, I've forgotten this. Let me go to the last question. I was worried about your response, Advocate Johnson, when you were asked about the duplication of functions. I think it was, I'm not sure if it was Honorable Cameron or Honorable Klopper who was proposing a protocol. Now, when Minister Kachalia was here, he went to great lengths speaking about this duplication, scope creep, and whatnot, right? Now, your response suggests to me that you think that the criminal justice system should be run on collegiality. We must just speak together more. We must just do this and this. And I'd really want you to think about this duplication. Minister Kachalia proposes, for example, the establishment of an OPI, I think Office of Integrity, Public Integrity or something, which would then look at IDEC, which would look at the Hawks, the SIU. Don't you think a mechanism like that could strengthen the fight against corruption in particular, crime in general?
So my response in terms of as it stands, and because there isn't a coordinating mechanism, that collegiality was the only way we were able to get over those hurdles. I have seen the NACAC recommendations, and they make sense, so much so that there isn't a straddling of mandates. So the DPCI, as per those NACAC recommendations, ought only, if they are accepted and go through Parliament, only deal with organized crime, and that matters of corruption, serious economic offences should fall within the mandate of IDEC. And in terms of the OPI, it is almost an absorption of the SIU, but with a bit more functions than which they currently have. I think that would talk to a bringing of all the law enforcement, aligning the mandates, keeping mandates restricted and effective, with the detectives still having to do the lower level crimes. And what they also then put in there, which is what we don't have, is a coordinating body that will look at the cases that are coming in, who's doing what, and how we can perhaps help with the resources, etc. So for the first time, there'd be a all-round coordinating mechanism. And I think if we give it a try, the chances of it doing us greater good would be.
Okay, thank you. Chair, I'm done, but I just want to ask Advocate Johnson before I step off. Advocate, we don't want another 6th of July media briefing. So I want to ask you here, right, that where you are sitting, and I'm sensitive obviously to the last part of your statement in terms of threats. Are you sitting in a position where your life is being made difficult? I mean, in terms of the work of IDEC, that you can't function, you have all these syndicates, influences, interferences that make it difficult for you to do your work. Because I won't come back after you answer that question, could I also request, if possible, in writing, any recommendations you would want the committee to consider to strengthen IDEC or even the criminal justice system in totality? Are you going to do a 6th of July on us anytime soon?
I didn't do a 6th of July, but a 6th of July was unnecessary. However, I do not know what attempts Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi made to escalate, got no joy, as he says. And when people are frustrated and their intentions are good, sometimes it comes out in the manner that it came out. But in terms of the death threats aside, I am able to do my work. It's a lot on one's shoulders. You cannot forget it. You can't just, I don't relax. There's no relaxing and just getting to work. So one would have liked me to be the me.
The time of the members expired.
Thank you, Advocate Johnson, and I'm happy that you're not frustrated. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable members, can I check those who want to make follow-ups? Honorable Matthews, Honorable Sols will be the two speakers. The list is closed.
Thank you, Chair. To follow up on the issue of political interference, I just want you to speak a little bit too. So you said you haven't had any political leaders, ministers, etc., come directly to you. Politicians, by nature, if they are not clumsy, they're not going to come to someone that they haven't captured yet. And do you think that the issues that you are having, because you said you do, or you have worked under, and you still do, under very trying situations, they have to be fueled somewhere, because it's no way that just bureaucrats can do that without being protected or being fueled by politicians in the background. That's my statement. I would like you to speak to that. And I'm not saying that you must identify any politicians, but that is a fact. There's no way bureaucrats can get away with half of the things they do if they are not in the pockets of politicians or being directed by politicians.
You put it so eloquently, Honorable Matthews. I'm not sure what response I'm able to give. Safe to say, I have had concerns ever since the death threat and the 6th of July media briefing. And I'll tell you why. What you see is what you get. I don't know how to be different, Andrea Johnson or the ID. And so when people were in the public space connecting dots that I didn't even see, I had to ask myself the question, who are you and why? And is it necessarily the person who took to a podium? I still don't have the answers. I do have a suspicion that something bigger is aimed at targeting, if not IDEC, the ID. But that is where I put it on pause. Unfortunately, I do believe
No, I
the
understand.
Lord will show them up. It may sound philosophical, but that is all I can wish for. But I do hope I find the sources in IDEC, because that would also give an indication of what the agenda is and who's running it.
One day is one day. And can we safely say that state capture has continued under Cyril Ramaphosa, President Cyril Ramaphosa? Because these cases we're talking about are post-Zondo Commission.
I cannot say that state capture happened under a specific person, because that person is not implicated in any of the cases IDEC currently deals with, except that capture continues. It even happened after the Zondo Commission with the PPE procurement. Corruption is rife. That you cannot take away. I can't attribute it to any one specific person other than the people whom allegations are made against and whom IDEC would have to investigate.
Now, I wasn't saying the person administration, so the Cyril Ramaphosa administration, but you've answered our question. Thank you, Advocate.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to remind members, President Cyril Ramaphosa, we elected him here in June last, and by an overwhelming majority. My friend, Honorable Sols,
No, Chair, I can't be your friend. You are my elder. You are my senior. Too much respect for you to be called your friend. Honorable Chair, Honorable Advocate, we just got information on recruitment. The follow-up is on the recruitment. Just got information that there was a post of senior criminal investigator that was advertised 2024, and the appointment was made this year, 2025. A colored female, LLB degree, many years of experience, applied, and those who got appointed has less experience than her. And then she was victimized when she wrote a grievance or lodged a grievance against these unfair appointments. So I want to put it to you, we can prove, and we want to debunk the notion that coloreds do not apply and they do not qualify. Earlier, I didn't have this information. I received it now. And I put it to you that IDEC must do more, because coloreds, there are coloreds out there that qualifies and that can contribute to the well-being of this country.
I take note. There was a labor dispute that was declared. I'm therefore not going to discuss the matter. Safe to say it is a one-sided story that the Honorable Sols has been given, and it is unfortunate. But I do know what you are talking about, but the person had declared a grievance against myself and various officials in IDEC. I'm therefore unable to discuss that matter, but I do know what you're talking about, Honorable Sols.
Can I just say that I obviously don't know the details, and that's not important for me. What is important for me is you can confirm she's colored, she has qualifications, and there are coloreds that applies. I just want to debunk the notion that coloreds don't apply and they are not there qualified. That's the issue here. Let's do more to be inclusive, because there are coloreds that are professional and do qualify. That's the point.
I'll take your point.
Honorable Nomvalo, your time starts now.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening.
Okay,
good
just
evening.
hold a moment. We get Honorable Malim.
I don't know, Chair, but I think it's unfair on the witness to use one incident to create a phenomenon that is non-existent. Because it's very unfair on her to say, because of one incident, colors are applying and they are not being appointed on the suitable cases. So from that point, I think we should protect her. She gave us her answer on the matter, and that's her answer. We can't use one isolated incident to want to prove a non-existing crisis.
No, Honorable Sole, wait, I don't want that. I don't want you to debate the matter. The reality which has been presented here and which has been acknowledged is that there is an underrepresentation of colored people in IDEC. And I think it's a matter which we should be worried about. And if there is a way, persuade the leadership of IDEC here to pay attention to it. They have been excluded for many years. And I think it's very important that we look at that. Honorable Sols might have lacked a better way to present it, Honorable Malem. But the truth that remains is that the colored population of South Africa also deserve recognition. It's very rare that you see them in any of the state departments, especially at the highest echelon of leadership. So the point, Honorable Sol, I think has been driven home, and we must take it as such. Honorable Nomval.
Nothing.
Sure, I would do honestly.